As recently as the 1960s, racism was an integral part of American society. The 1960s were not so long ago as most people think. Many of our parents were born in this era. Our grandparents were middle-aged or sometimes even younger. But to our generation, racism often seems like more like a century ago. This is due to the acts of great people like Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks. They were beaten, jailed, and oppressed, all so that we as a generation could forget racism ever happened, even make jokes about the very idea of it. Even gays were woefully mistreated until very recently, but much progress has been made in that area over the last 10 years. Our generation in adulthood may finally be the one that sheds all stereotypes and pointless hate. I asked many different high schoolers whether they think that hate is a part of our generation, and I got some interesting responses that often prove hate to no longer be a part of society. For our generation, would you say that hate is still a part of it?
It could be.
It could be.
Depends on the parents. Like, you remember Lamb and Lynx.
The Lamb and Lynx that Kevin refers to are actually a duo of neo-Nazi white supremacist pop singers that have come up recently and been very controversial. We watched them in our religion class.
Well, they're racist. They're our generation.
Well, what do you think about people like that? Would you say that
Am I looking at that thing or you?
Would you say would you say that comes from the parents, or is it just something? Is it something that's still in? It's so you wouldn't say that it's inherent in this generation to be hateful or racist.
I agree. It could be. It's all because the parents of Lamb and Lynx, for example, they were racist. They taught them to be racist. Thus, where does racism come from?
When asked whether racism comes mainly from parents, Michael McFarland
Yes, I definitely do. I think that children mostly adopt their parents' beliefs, but in our generation, kids, they're starting to think for themselves instead of simply adopting their parents' beliefs.
So you think that it's really not inherent in the kids that are growing up?
I think it's somewhat inherent, but not completely inherent. I think kids can think for themselves of whether they want to be racist or not.
Thus, overall, these are just the opinions of two people, but it really goes to show that this may truly be the generation that can transcend hate and racism.
Free at last! Free at last! Thank God Almighty!